Good morning, respected chief guest and everyone present over here. We extend our heartiest welcome to the day 2 of the International Business Conclave Trade Winds. Digitalization has been an emerging trend from the past few years, and it has helped India to propel in various aspects, including faster access to information, increasing customer experiences, improving productivity, lowering operational costs, and removing barriers to services and information. Well, without any delay, I would like to call upon stage the Systemics Club of IIFT Delhi to go forward with the National Digital Summit under the Trade Winds. Thank you.
A very warm good morning to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for joining in today and having us all here at this National Digital Summit. I'm going to promptly move forward and introduce our speakers. We have a very illustrious panel today with us, and we're very grateful that everybody could make time for us today. Starting off, we would like to welcome Mr. Chinmay Dave, sir. Sir is currently serving as a team lead for Metaverse and Immersive Experience at Tata Consultancy Services. Prior to this, he served as the head of Mobile Center of Excellence at Tata Consultancy Services. So is a certified agile leader with 11 years of global IT services and product management experience across multiple domains with a proven capability to strategize, scale, and deliver large-scale digital transformation. So has a global client exposure to clients based out of Asia, Europe, and the Americas as well. We're honored to host you today, sir. We also have with us today Mr. Anil Gupta, sir. Sir has a vast industry experience of more than 30 years and is currently the Chief Partnership Officer at Earth, powering micro businesses. An alumnus of IIFT, he has been actively working in the field of microloans and providing working capital to the micro merchants and retailers at the bottom of the pyramid and creating a credit score for the end to see. Apart from this, Sir has also worked as a VP for International Business Development at Thales, where he co-founded their Indian subsidiary. He served as the Managing Director at Net1 Universal Technologies, where he was the founder of India and Southeast Asia office. Sir has expertise and also advises CXOs in banking, financial services, telecom, and executive education to formulate growth strategies. We're truly honored to host you here today, sir, as well. Additionally, we would also like to welcome Mr. N. Jana, sir, who has been a supply chain specialist for mines and metals for more than 17 years. He's currently the Deputy General Manager, XMN Logistics for Jindal Stainless Steelway Limited. Sir is a reputed IIFT alumni and has completed his doctorate degree specialized in logistics, material, and supply chain management in the year 2017. We're honored to have you here, sir, and we're looking forward to hear about your experiences and insights from the industry. We also have with us today Mr. Sriram Natarajan, President at Quint Financial Technologies. With over 30 plus years of experience in cards, retail banking, customer fintech, and retail management, Sir holds a deep understanding of cards and ATM technology, payment cards industry, system orientation, and operations management. Sir has worked in esteemed companies such as American Express, HSBC, National Bank of Kuwait, GE Money across various functions such as credit and risk, card processing, serving as Chief Operating Officer in multiple companies. We're delighted and honored by the opportunity to learn from his experience and valuable insights. Thank you, sir, and we welcome you to the discussion today. I would like to invite all the four panelists to join us on the stage. The theme for this year's National Digital Summit is Bridging the Digital Divide, India at 100. We all are no strangers to the ever-changing landscape of technology and how it brings a vast wellspring of opportunities for businesses and industry across the globe. Today, we hope with this illustrious panel to cover some of what this entire opportunity that India has in front of it has to offer, and how it can make the best of it, and how we can learn and how we can implement these kind of ideas and initiatives that we see in the future ahead of us. So without further ado, I'd now like to hand over the floor to Mr. Chinmay sir.
Great. Can I close it? Huh? Yeah, thank you. So yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. Okay, really nice Saturday afternoon. As we were just discussing before this, good range, and a nice change of AQI as well. So I think this the summit which started, yesterday. What were the key takeaways, or what were the key points which you think you took yesterday? Can someone just raise hand, would like to share what was the key takeaway which you had yesterday? Yeah.
So good morning. So I'm Sabaga from the batch 24.
Okay.
So we had the finance summit yesterday, and we got a great insight about emerging markets, how India, has been outperforming the emerging markets over the last 10 years, and how India has a great opportunity in the next 20 to 25 years because of its young population, great consumption markets. Also, if we look at the MSCI index, it also tells us that how India has been outperforming all the its neighboring countries, Vietnam, Thailand, all the other countries over the past 10 years, and has a great opportunity.
Okay, thanks a lot. Can we have a please short on? So India has a growth story, and I think that has been resonating with all of us, not for the last 10 years, but especially the last 20 years have been really good for India as a country, our growth, and from almost all aspects. Okay. So today we are here to discuss about the digital divide and how when India becomes 100. Okay, we just celebrated the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav India at 75, and a lot of you and pomp was there. Okay, but let's see, what has come up as the major challenge, and apart from all the challenges, digital divide still, because of a large population and because of our other economic and social factors, that remains a big challenge. So I really wanted to cover this in two parts. First of all, just to set the tone of what digital divide is, what my perspective is, and what we'll be, of course, discussing during the panel discussion as well. And second is also from the technology part, from where I come, on the immersive experiences, and a lot of talk is going on metaverse. Okay, so when we say that digital divide exists, okay, it exists in different forms. Okay, it exists in different form in US, it exists in different forms in India and Ukraine, and all different countries. So for in general, digital divide has four aspects, or I should say the lack of four aspects. First is access to information. So information is something which we have all become very used to, like accessing internet. Okay, or how I was able to connect through to the systemics club, and we all are here. Second is the lack of digital literacy and digital skills. So someone can have access to information, but they really don't know what to do with it. Okay. Third is lack of inclusive design. Now, when we say inclusive design, what I mean is that there are so many things which we create, like a mobile app. Okay, I would probably lean towards a lot of technology heavy examples, but let's say we create a mobile app. Okay, and when we create a mobile app, we thought that okay, it will work in the urban areas. Okay, but we really don't know that how it will work in the rural areas. And then last is the digital participation. So even if someone has all these things, but they are not willing to participate in the digital ecosystem of a country, of a company, of any area, so that also becomes a very big problem. The underlying causes of the digital divide globally in any context mainly remains four. Okay, economic, that someone does not have access to capital, someone does not have access to buy a mobile phone. Geopolitical, something which is happening in Ukraine and Russia right now, that there is a lot of misinformation, there is a lot of internet blockages, and we all have seen this Elon Musk, okay, providing internet by Starlink. Okay, so geopolitical reasons are also there. Next is the geographical reasons. Okay, and I think more than India, there is no better example that someone who is right in Leh or on the borders of Rajasthan. Okay, how will they get access to this information, or how will they become inclusive to what government or what any private organization, like when we talk about telecommunication, Geo or Airtel, how will they get those benefits? And last is humane. Okay, gender, age, or let's say someone is not really physically fit enough to do or use those things. Okay, so these four are the general reasons which are global enough and generalized enough to create a digital divide in any sense. Recently, one glaring example of digital divide happened in March 2020. Technically December 2019 it started, COVID. And all of us who are sitting here in this hall, I think we have been fortunate enough to know how to use mobile phones, how to use internet services. We had access to that capital, and maybe that's why, don't know, but that's why we were not that much impacted because of COVID. But the ones who were marginalized or who did not have access to information, or we have seen examples of our friends, of I have seen of my friends who are living in US or Europe, and their parents are here and they don't know how to order grocery from a mobile app. I mean, earlier they did not know, they did not need it to do. So healthcare, education, and finance, I think these three were the very key areas where the digital divide was felt the most, especially in healthcare, which unfortunately impacted a lot of people globally. Education, we have all seen examples, TV news, etc., that how people or how who did not have access to laptops, tablets, they were impacted. Okay. So moving on, digital is now being talked about a lot in India, especially after such couple of very successful implementations like UPI. Okay. In 2015, Chandra, we like to call him Chandra, informally in TCS. So when Chandra was the CEO of TCS, and now he's the chairman of Tata Group, he said that default is digital. Okay, so it was well ahead of time when he communicated this, and he tried to communicate this to the entire industry, I would say. Okay, and recently, Hindustan Times, or I think some media group, they conducted one summit, economy summit, India at 100. The theme was, India at 100 for them as well. And there our IT minister and Mr. Mittal of head of Airtel, they all said that digital is default, and digital, it is like digital or nothing. Okay, so whatever approach you are taking in the business, it has to be digital. One thing which I would like to tell here that this is a quote, by Mr. Chandra himself, that the digital strategy, and that's why I think, it is very highly relevant for all of you, that it is not about mobile apps, it is not about technology, it is about business models. Okay, so no matter after graduating from this college, you will work in all different companies, different domains, insurance or trade or logistics or wherever, but it is about a business model, and that is why digital and tech has become so relevant. And it's a famous or maybe not so famous thing, that now every company is saying that. You ask JP Morgan, they say that they are a tech company. You ask Paytm, they say they are a tech company. Everyone is a tech company. Why? Because it has become so pervasive and it has become so ubiquitous that everyone is trying to go digital first or digital native. So all right, so India has come a long way. Now we are saying that, okay, let us become digital first. And 2020 is with our potential and with all the basic form setup, we look poised to become digital first nation, right? Talking about MBA, I think that you guys learned a lot of models. So strategical, tactical, and operational, these are the three things, or the key takeaways what I would like to share from my end, that how we can become a digital first nation. But before doing anything, we first should and must understand where we are. India is such a special nation. It's highly diverse. There are more than there are probably thousands and thousands of languages which are spoken. This is not a challenge for US. Okay, US speaks one language, so the way they become digital native will be different. The way Australia will become digital native will be different. The way we have to become digitally native will be different. So we have to understand our contextuality, because our challenges and our strengths are different. So, and talking about our strengths, we also have to understand our assets. Today, NPCI, the company, the organization behind the UPI, they are in talks with so many countries, and lot of countries, they want to implement UPI. Right? It has been so successful. So we have some core strengths. And third is our spirit. So you throw anything at us, we will adapt it. Okay? So our adaptability, I think one very clear example was vaccination. Okay? Again, like to take example of US. There was so much hue and cry over vaccination, which was not the case with India. Okay? So we were very readily adopted the whole vaccination program. So we'll quickly, try to cover these points. First is on the strategy part, that when you guys go out and, you will be asked to plan, you will be planning the digitally native strategies, digital native planning. So what are the some key considerations which you should have? First is technology, of course, that it has become so obvious that everyone must understand what data is. Everyone must understand what AI is. Okay? Second, since all of you are into international business, foreign trade, and all working in global environment, geopolitics and economic factors are also a important consideration for you. That you have to understand that where your organization or where our country stands in terms of policy making, or where we stand in terms of strategizing. Economics, especially we're just talking about work from home and how it is not. So the entire notion of work itself is changing, and social cultural values are changing. Okay, Web 3.0, which is a reflection of society. Okay, so technology is not, or web or internet is not as per se what it wants to be. It is a reflection of what we want. So as our social and cultural values change, the web is also changing. Web 3.0 is coming. Trust, which is data privacy, is a very important issue. EU came up with GDPR a lot before. In India, the data privacy bill is under works. We are lagging there, agree. And then purpose driven, and along with that, the whole aspect of environment and cultural change, ESG. It's the biggest thing probably after the pandemic started. ESG based funds and everything has come up, and every organization is presenting their ESG initiatives or their purpose-driven or climate-driven initiatives, sustainability has become the key theme in everything what every organization is trying to do. The next part after the strategy is a tactical one. Okay, so when we look at strategy is fine, but tactically, what are the aspects which we have to target? Okay, first is infrastructure. Do we have the right infrastructure? Do we have the cables? Do we have the phones? Okay, and infrastructure can mean different to different domains, right? Second is the access. Third is the applications, and fourth is the content. Okay, so I would just take one quick example here. How many of you have been to Mumbai? How many of you? Okay, there is a very popular app there called Emindicator, okay, which is a application used by everyone. I have met people in Mumbai locals who can barely read and write. When I say barely, at least they can read. Okay, so they have that very very economical, very cheap mobile phone. They have the infrastructure. They have 4G. They have access to internet because internet is available throughout, from Virar to Churchgate. The application, which is Emindicator, is there. And lastly, there is a lot of content. So every second, there is an update on Emindicator, and it is people who are generating that content. So a very generalized example, but if you see the digital first travel of Mumbai, okay, that was made possible by many things. Emindicator is one of the examples. How many of you have heard about this 4 disciplines of execution? Okay, maybe not, but this is a very popular model by Mr. Covey. Okay, a very popular book as well. And what it tells is that if you have to master the execution, which is in my dictionary, it's more towards the operational part. That okay, what do I do on a daily basis? There is in the second discipline, they say act on the lead measures. Okay. What I mean by that today we are having a very relevant theme of bridging the digital divide. Right now we are at 75, and right now what we are trying to measure is a lagging point, that bridging the digital divide. Okay, that I'm trying to catch up with something which has already happened. Can we at 85, or can we at 80, India at 80 or 85 or 90? Can I someday can I ask that, rather than measuring what I have to catch up, can I ask what I have to lead? Where do I have to lead? That I want to become a digital native India. Okay, so that's the lead game which we have to play. That is where we have to reach. Today, bridging the digital divide is a very relevant topic, very relevant question, which we all are asking and we'll be discussing. That is where we have to go. So with that, I would finish the part 1. Quickly come to the part 2, which is the technology part. Slightly would like to touch upon that, not take a lot of time. That Web 3.0 is there. A lot of content is available on YouTube. I'm very sure that you all have watched. Everyone has watched a lot of content on what Web3 is, what metaverse is, what this is. Okay, but as I said, that technology or the web version is a reflection of us. Okay, our society. So the global meltdown or coronavirus or rich becoming richer, decentralization, blockchain, everything as a philosophy is coming towards Web 3.0. Okay. Metaverse and metaversification of everything, digital twins, IoT, smart cities, retail, virtual shopping. You really might not need to travel. There are already a lot of use cases. When I told my boss that I'm coming here, he instantly assumed that this is going to be a virtual conference, okay, or a virtual event. So that is becoming a norm now. Okay. There are a lot of use cases, but I would just like to touch two things because we are talking about India at 100: healthcare and education. Healthcare and education, two very, very important sectors where India needs a lot of help. India needs a lot of development and a lot of effort. So when we look at India at 100, if I say that digital native India at 100, how does it look like? It, first of all, it is equitable. We all have to be digitally equitable, which comes from our contextuality, which is which is by design actually. Okay, be it financial, geographical, or whatever. Second is leveraged by tech. Digital native India at 100 will be leveraged by tech, which is our strength. Technology has a very fantastic superpower, as to say. It can, you talk about these economies of scale, networks, and all that, those theories which are there and practice in business. Tech can really accelerate all of it. Okay? So that power is there in the tech. And third, I think many of us were born, maybe, our panelists, they were not even maybe TV native. Okay, they were born. I'm the generation who is TV native. As far as I can remember, I remember seeing the TV from day one. Okay, there is a generation which is PC native, computers. Okay, the day one of my cousin sister, young one, when she was born, right from day one, I remember she was using a PC. There is a generation which is mobile native. There is a generation which is AI native. There will be a generation which will be metaverse native. Okay, so India at 100, we will be serving and we will be working along with the workforce and people who will be metaverse native, and that is what reflects our spirit, that whatever you throw at us, we really adapt it. Okay, so multiversal technologies or areas, IoT, digital twin, all these things will really come together and form what, in my opinion, is India at 100. Okay, so with that note, I would end here. Mr. Anil Gupta, would you like to come? Yeah. Okay. So thanks a lot, guys. That's it.
Hello. Okay, good morning, everyone. So, quite a rainy day. All of you been pulled on a Saturday. First of all, thank you, your team, for having me here today and to kind of share some knowledge. It's very interesting, actually. In 2001, I was what you were sitting on the other side, and while studying here, and I was building something. I had something very, I would say, a visionary thing that was coming to me, and I was trying to build something for this country, which was quite intriguing for all the professors over here. And that was something where I felt that how can we bring financial services to those set of people who are financially excluded, right? Who are unbanked or who are underbanked. So some people said, we don't understand. So we said, it's something like, what if a bank goes beyond its branches to do banking? Now that was also something which was quite amazing for all the banking community, per se, to understand how can banking go beyond a bank branch, because technically everything is done in a branch itself, right? So in 2001, we were doing these kinds of technology, implementation in countries probably you might feel a little weird. Countries like Uzbekistan, countries like Ukraine, countries like Russia, countries in the African continent, and some in the Middle East itself, right? The whole concept of bringing the financial services to the poor people or to the unbanked was something that we were doing. And we saw a big opportunity to bring this back to India. So as you say, from an ideation stage to implementation to diffusion probably takes about a decade, right? If I have to zip those 10, 15 years, I'm sure you all use a mobile wallet in some format or the other, right? I'm sure you all have Aadhaar card. You did biometrics, in some format or the other. I'm sure some people who are from the banking or who have an inclination towards banking might be hearing concepts of banking correspondent model. India bringing financial inclusion to the society at last, to the bottom of the pyramid itself. Now, these were some of the areas where I had worked relentlessly to bring these concepts in India, which I think we all use. So I'll not dwell deep into what all went through this itself. So one of the key challenges that came during that time was, how can we bring technology to this level wherein people who are, a small shopkeeper, maybe a woman who's running a small business, can easily get a finance. When I'm talking of finance, it could be as small as 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. So I think with that kind of a framework, we were building technology to enable these things to happen. Now, one of the biggest challenge, that came at that point was when you want to go to a bank to avail a car loan or a home loan, it's pretty simple, right? We have all the credentials available, right? Your bank statement, your other collaterals, etc. Perhaps even the lady who works at your home or anyone else, a domestic help, goes to one Chroma store and flashes her Aadhaar card, probably can buy a smartphone worth 50,000 rupees because some underwriting happens. Bajaj Finservs of the world comes and gives you immediately a phone. A similar profile of this particular woman, just go beyond 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers away from a city like Delhi NCR or Mumbai, for example, who is in the rural belt, struggles to get even 10,000, 20,000 rupees kind of a loan or a finance, takes up maybe about a month or so. And what is the reason behind that? Because the current systems are not, especially the banking systems, they don't know exactly how to underwrite or evaluate these, borrowers, for example. They don't have a bank account, maybe. They have a bank account, but they may not have. So they have other kinds of collaterals that the traditional systems don't have. Now, while the technology build had happened, my area, especially I was working more to build algorithms, or you can call it like a risk assessment engines, to figure out that if there is a farmer or there's a lady out there, how do I underwrite this lady, right? How do I enable that she's good to get a 20,000 rupees loan or a 30,000 rupees loan? Why does she needs that? Now, to build these kinds of systems, it needs a lot of other kind of work that actually happens. How do you create a credit score, for example, for this little, small micro entrepreneur, who's running a small, maybe a chicken curry kind of a, setup, or she's running a small beauty parlor, or she's having a small grocery stores. These data are not available, right? So what we have been doing, and that's what I've been doing in the last about 10, 15 years, is to build data points, right? Because if you don't bring financial access to this strata of the society, you'll not be able to move them up the value chain itself, right? And this is one of the very critical discussions that we used to have at Reserve Bank of India, because that had other implications, So at Earth, what we've been doing, I'm just trying to again zip, the last maybe 5 years to bring it here. So about 4 years back, while you do your mobile recharge, right, 100 rupees, 200 rupees itself, I think in 2017-18 probably, I felt that probably can we bring something like a pay later as a concept, which today you all know, buy now, pay later is the buzzword, right? And people said, how can we do that? So if you wanted to do your mobile recharge for 100 rupees, you had an option built in over there You can press the button buy now, pay later, or just pay later, and you can break that 100 rupees into 30 days and pay it, after 30 days. Now, what went behind this? How was I able to underwrite someone for just 150 rupees recharge or 100 rupees recharge? Of course, there was a strong technology. The whole build behind this was being built, right? And we were able to underwrite millions of such, borrowers who would take this particular, step and do these pay later as a concept itself. So I think slowly and slowly, the last 10 years, we've seen that while at some point the intent was there to build these kinds of layers, the technology was still, grasping, it was still coming up. And I think thanks to, the whole India tech stack, where today you just put your mobile number and your PAN gets validated or your eKYC is done. So everything is now at a fingertip. And I think that is what gave birth to the new age so-called fintechs, right? I did come from a financial company. We were using technology, and one day when I heard this fintech, I said, "Ye kya hota bhai, fintech?" So let me Google and find out what is this fintech. I said, "Oh, I think I'm doing fintech only, right?" So it took almost 5-6 years for companies to visualize and realize that while if I want to empower this, this woman or this farmer, all that I have maybe his or her just KYC details. So what else can I do? How can I build my credit engine, for example? So we went on understanding all other means of the livelihood of this person, right? In terms of how big is the land, what is the demographics, are they having kids? And I'm telling you, these are very, very important points. Is the kids going to school? Yes. Is the school fees, is it free or is it, there's some fee to that? So in the last 1 or 2 years, we built almost close to about some 145 data points. These are broad data points, right? Basis which we were able to build a credit engine and say, ki, I think we know how to underwrite this set of borrowers, who are looking for some kind of a financial help itself. We've done close to more than about 500,000 such borrowers in the last 2-3 years. Using this, the power of underwriting and bringing this kind of a financial assistance. In terms of defaults, just to share the numbers so that you can relate how powerful these engines have to be, while you underwrite, all in the range of 2-2.5%, not more than that. COVID, of course, was a big hit. We did stop lending per se, but then the whole ecosystem changed for us, right? In terms of how the technology has to be rebuilt. So I think I coming from, how to build financial systems for the poor, how to build micro and nano financial services, and to, commercialize this entire piece is an area which is very huge, very much, upcoming. Digital lending, of course, is the next big buzzword. Everybody talks about digital lending, but I think the approach that we have seen and the challenges that we've seen is not everything is always digital, right? I cannot underwrite someone maybe in Kerala just using a mobile app sometimes and getting some numbers and say, yes, I think he or she is good to get, 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees itself. So the physical element also becomes an important criteria. So what we do at Earth, while we empower these borrowers, is we use a lot of physical interactions with them. Right? We try to bring a lot of financial literacy, to these set of people. They're not aware. I mean, I'm telling you, like, they are just not aware in terms of what are the financial schemes or the government schemes which are available. So we try to bring through various forums, to make them more educated in this itself. So we are doing a lot of work in that area. I know you have a time constraint. Feel free to, call on me or interact with me, especially if you guys are interested in the lending space or the underwriting or how to manage these credit risk underwriting parameters. My colleague Sriram will, of course, talk more. He touches upon payments. And I think with that, I'll just pause for a while now. More than happy to have Q&As and question answers at some point. Is that okay? Yeah? All right. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot, Anil. Sriram, over to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Chinmay. Hi, good morning, everyone. I was expecting a much more colorful gathering. You're all dressed like for a funeral. Everybody is in dark coats, and I feel overdressed now. Okay, hi, good morning, and welcome to a nice rainy day. A rainy day is always welcome in Delhi NCR because of the air quality. So yesterday when I saw the AQI is 50, I was absolutely delighted. I wanted to start the day. Normally when you get up, you see a smog outside your window, and you say, "Hey, gosh, I've got to go out in the smog." But yesterday was nice, and today is also nice. So let's enjoy it while it lasts. So India Digital, very interesting presentation with Chinmay and Anil. I think I would like to go back a little bit on digital. What exactly was digital? Where did it start? What's the legacy of digital in India? We throw the term digital; it's just thrown everywhere. Everyone claims to be a digital native. Everyone claims to be a digital company. And since the pandemic started, every company says, "I have a digital transformation, roadmap." So everyone across industries, in the financial services industry where I'm from, it's like a daily regimen of talking of digital transformation. And you heard terms like, if you're not digital, then you don't exist, or digital or perish. And that's the kind of things that are thrown at you. I think we have to see India at digital, a tremendous achievement. I think a lot of it is driven by the people themselves, and that's what happens. India cannot become digital by government regulation or by a few large companies leading it. It cannot happen. It hasn't happened anywhere in the world. If India or any country for that matter has to be truly digital, it has to be the people, it has to be the consumers, it has to be the business which has to adopt digital. And that is what is our biggest priority and biggest prerogative for all of us. The government can enable digital. It's up to us, it's up to the industry, it's up to the consumers to make it happen. So if you look back, there's this philosophy called the Hubble telescope philosophy. You all know what's the Hubble telescope? I guess you all heard of it. So the philosophy behind Hubble telescope is that you look at your past to lay out your future. So the Hubble telescopes enable you to look at distant galaxies. And why do you want to look at all that? Because you want to see how did the universe came about. And that's what we have to see in digital as well. As far as I'm concerned, there have been 5 inflection points on which India's digital story has come so far. And we got to learn from these inflection points. You all know what's the inflection point? Anybody wants to define what's an inflection point? Yep, go ahead. Anyone?
An inflection point essentially represents a change in a graph that we're looking at, a positive or a negative one, but essentially one that indicates a difference in the prevailing trend up until that point.
Great, thank you. The key word here is inflection is it's a permanent change. An inflection point is a point at the graph when things after that change forever. Now, there have been 5 inflection points as far as I'm concerned. Again, feel free to differ with that. You don't have to agree with me. The first one was in 1991 when India became free. And it was not that we became free on our own. When I'm talking about free, I'm talking about economic freedom. You were not even born. I think most of the people in this room were not born. But when I grew up as a student here in Delhi, we used to hear things about licensing. Everything was licensed. So while India attained political freedom in 1947, India truly became economically free in 1991. And that was not out of our own volition. It was forced upon us. So if you ever see that, why did Dr. Manmohan Singh and our Prime Minister at that time, Narasimha Rao, opened up the economy? Because they had no choice. India had 15 days of foreign exchange left. So if you ever want to say, whom do you give credit for India's economic reforms? I will give credit to Saddam Hussein and George Bush. If Saddam Hussein had not invaded Kuwait and George Bush had not attacked Iraq, India would never have opened up their economy. It would have continued as it is. Just we didn't even have a government at the time. We had a coalition government. We had prime ministers coming every 6 months. So India was forced. India had its backs to the wall. And Dr. Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao did a brilliant job of opening up the economy. They had their backs to the wall, but they did it. That was the first time. That was the first point where it all germinated. What you're seeing today, all this digital, we are talking of digital today because of that. That happened. Our economy was open. So a lot of things you take today for granted, like a phone or a mobile connection or a gas or nothing, you have to wait for years to get a landline. So that is the first point. The second point I would think personally is somewhere in 93, 94, when the IT industry took off in India, the BPO industry. I was in American Express at the time. I was part of the team. My boss, Raman Roy, you can Google about him. He's probably the godfather of the ITES or BPO industry. The first time it came about, again, by default, that sitting in India, you could service a bank on the US. That's what it did. And it came to India, like American Express, Harvey Golub, the CEO of American Express at that time, he promised the board that I'm going to save $2 billion in costs over the next 5 years. And he said, how do I do it? So he centralized processes. He sent processes out of the US to India. And India, it was given to India as almost like a challenge. And that was the first step in our digital. At that time, the internet, there was no internet. We had to build lease lines. There used to be an entity called VSNL in those days. So we used to come to VSNL and, spend our day prostrating ourselves before the babus and say, hey, please give us a connection for a line. Those are the days. But that's what we did. And India, from that time, like American Express, G Capital, Citibank, all these guys we started servicing the world. If you see today, name any company, Boeing builds all its aircraft and engineering done in Bangalore. If you look at Wells Fargo Bank, nobody knows what's Wells Fargo in India because they don't have a branch in India. But they have 15,000 employees working here in Wells Fargo. So likewise, I can name hundreds of companies out of the Fortune 500, probably 450 out of the Fortune 500 companies have offices in India today. And this is all a testimony to our digital transformation. The third one, inflection point, was, guess what, 1999, December 31st, Y2K. That was the time I used to work in HSBC, and we were all sitting in when Australia first switched over. So we were watching what happens in Australia. The promise was that computers will blow up because of the date thing, and all codes have rewritten, probably electricity would stop. That was a fear. Y2K was a huge blessing for India and companies like TCS actually. The Y2K is an enormous blessing. And we built an army of coders and technologists and engineers, software engineers, and we proved it. And even today, the world still swears by India because of our tech talent. So that is the third one. The fourth one, I would say, the inflection point is probably when we started, Aadhaar and the JAM, the Trinity that our Prime Minister talks about. Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, and mobile. So that started somewhere in 2015, and we had UPI. And today, UPI is the world's largest domestic payment network, and it's growing. It's growing and growing and growing. And that's a testimony to our thing. And now watch out for ONDC now, the online network of digital commerce. I mean, you must check it out. That is something that could be the next game changer for India. So I think the key things come out of it when you talk about these inflection points. I think now we are standing at the fifth inflection point after COVID. It's always going to be BC and after AC, before COVID and after COVID. And how have we learned from COVID? I think India has done, despite all the constraints, we have done a great job. I think, like he talked about our vaccination thing, a tremendous achievement. The COVID site, it works. I still get reminders for booster doses, so it works. And also the fact that we have accelerated our digital payments network. Today, when you walk out, you go to a vegetable stall seller or a nariyal pani wala, he accepts payments on digital, and that is an enormous game changer. Because until 2019, we used to talk of China, because China was the one which was leading the world in mobile payments. But India has now probably outdone China on this front. And how did it happen? We utilized we went into a mess thanks to COVID, but we came out of it. And we use digital tools. And it's the people who adopted digital tools. As Anil was saying, it's a common people. So the next step for us is, how do we learn from this and how do we gain from this? How do we learn from the mistakes we made in the past? How can we accelerate this? India at 100 is not very far off. Things, it doesn't take long for 25 years. 25 years is it just flows by. So without getting into the timelines, what is it that we need to do today? I think the first thing is digital has to be mass. Now, we talk about the great divide in India, where the rich are getting richer and poor are getting poorer. There are some schools of thought which think that the digital has worsened it. Now, I would not necessarily agree with that, but there is this feeling that the digital tools or the digital infrastructure is favoring the well-offs or the top 20% of the population. That has to go. It cannot be like that. Why is that? Probably it's partly because of our low rates of literacy. When I say literacy, I don't mean read and write. It's financial literacy as well. It's not just about your being ability to read and write or add up numbers and subtract numbers. That's not what literacy is about. Literacy is about financial literacy. How do you manage your money? How do you manage other people's money? And that's critical to us. So if you look at it, my view is that it has to be mass. So just like you can do payments today, like anybody can do a payment, each of us can, I can send money to all of you today. I just have to pick up my phone and get your mobile number and send you money. Now that is, payments have become mass. Likewise, every financial product has to be so easily accessible. Like Anil talked about credit. How can a small businessman or somebody running a shop, how can he or she access credit? How can you just, while you're shopping at a website, how can you get instant credit without having a credit card? So that is going to be, how can you get insurance? How can you, before you're boarding a train, how can I get an insurance on my trip right before I board it? Or I'm walking out and I buy something and I want to get it financed. How can I get that? Those are the kind of things that we have now got to look at. Related to that comes in safety and security. Because remember, in the good old days, it took a while for reputations to get destroyed. It took a while for a company to fall down. But today in this digital real-time world, it will take a few hours for reputations to be destroyed. And that's the downside of digital. Today, if you have something, trust and security is absolutely important. And that's probably the biggest challenge for India, because we are so diverse. There are all kinds of people, different mindsets, different areas, different languages, different cultures. So the sheer diversity of it is what going to challenge us. And how can we make the consumers feel secure when they're using digital channels? The worst thing happens is that somebody says, hey, my data is all over the internet. Or what if my biometric data is all over the internet? What if my healthcare data is all over the internet? So these are things that we all have to consider. And that's what will determine how can we define our digital, our digital future. I would recommend you read, there is a initiative called Digital Planet, done by my friends, Dr. Bhaskar Chakravarti and Ravi Chaturvedi in the Fletcher School of Business. So do look at the Digital Planet. This is a ranking which compares countries on where you are on the digital, on the digital index. or Digital Transformation Index, India has been one of the fastest countries to transform digitally. And given the size, China used to lead earlier, but now India is equally great. And forget about small countries like Singapore. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. What counts is a country of significant size. Do read about Digital Planet. I think there are significant challenges for us, but these are exciting times. And I think it's up to us to define this. It is not, do not wait for the government or do not wait for the RBI to sort out our lives. It's not going to happen. It's the people in this room and people like us who have to define our digital future. And it's an exciting future, but it has a lot of challenges. Digital privacy. In India, we take privacy and data, should I say, confidentiality very lightly. I've heard some prominent people say that, hey, nobody cares about privacy or nobody cares about the data anyway, which is true to some extent, but we cannot perpetuate that. If you have to go to the next level of, like he's talking about Web 3.0, all that, we can't be so trivial about data. We cannot be trivial about our privacy, because it's not just about us, it's what we're projecting to the outside world as well. And that's probably as big a challenge, and it's a big opportunity as well, because we have a habit of finding solutions. While our resilience in COVID has shown that no other economy has bounced back as superbly as India has, and that's significant for us. There are lessons for us. So I think India at 100 should be exciting times. The next 25 years, or even the next 5 years, is going to be very super exciting, and it's up to us to define our digital future. And thank you all. I think I have run out of time, so I'm open for questions. I will talk about fintech somewhere down the line. Didn't have the time, but I think financial technology is a big enabler, and that's another area that's going to be a significant pivot in our digital future. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sriram, for taking me, to the story entire last 30 years, how India has, come up through those inflection points. Okay, let us move to our next speaker, Mr. Jena. Can we please have you on the stage? Thanks a lot.
Yeah, good morning to everybody. Yeah, rather it is good afternoon now.
Lunchtime.
Okay. So my discussions, very inside learnings from Chinmayji, Sriramji and Guptaji also. My discussion purely on industrial perspectives. Like you, I have done 2 programs from IIFT also. One is the executive MBA, another is the PhD program in 2017. Anyhow, currently I'm working as a head logistics in the entire Jindal group, taking the logistics and supply chain management. It is audible, I think. Voice is clear? Okay. So let us understand the few things, even industrial perspectives, logistics challenges, what we are facing, and what type of logistics you are doing, and the future of logistics in the global environment, since it is an international business conclave. So more related to international business and international transactions, that is more important to understand also. So we in Jindal Steel, we are importing all raw materials all across the globe. Like we are manufacturing stainless steel and another is mild steel. 2 types of steel we are manufacturing in India. In the last logistic policy, you must have seen our Honorable Prime Minister said that India is incurring higher logistic costs in comparison to other developed countries, where the logistic cost is in the range of 7 to 8%. But we are incurring logistic cost of 14 to 15%. That is only for the DGCI data. But in the real terms, if you see, currently we are incurring logistic cost to the extent of 17%. What happens actually internationally, the logistic cost is mapped by the World Bank only, but in Indian context, it is mapped by DGCI. So why? Because everything we are importing, the issues are 97% of the raw material is import based. Like for stainless steel manufacturing, if I say correctly, that is nickel, ferronickel, chromium, or everything, and coal also, we are importing. If likely Mr. Chinmay and Guptaji said, because it is a strategic, everything is strategic. You can see that the global deposits in India also, like Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Goa, these are the mining area. Global deposits are available there. But what about China? You see, China took all the materials 15 years back from India. Although they are having higher deposits, lot of minings, but they started buying everything from India. Now what we are doing, because China is planning their first forecast, that is a strategic buying, what they will produce in 2075. Anything wrong? Yeah. If you see, because you are the young students, you are doing MBA, you must understand this thing. China's forecast, what they can produce in 2075. You can say we are now 2022. But in Indian terms, what we are seeing, what will manufacture after 3 months? Because our plannings, raw material planning, forecasting, everything, all things about only for 3 months. Like we are in October, what we are planning, what we will produce in December. Again, what are the other challenges you see? Because in India is a very beautiful country to stay. Of course, you have seen in the country, you will not find any country like India. But at the same time, the logistic challenges are also there. Whenever we are importing, I will give a small example. Whenever we are going to import the materials, either we will import in containers or we will import the material on bulk mode, break bulk modes. So what is happening? Whenever we are importing materials in containers, like in your case, we are importing nickel, ferronickel, chromium, coal, bauxite, molybdenum, everything we are importing. So whenever we are importing the materials to India, if it is a larger size of vessel, it has to come to the hub ports only. The mother vessels, there is 2 types of vessel, mother vessel and a daughter vessel, small size vessel. Whenever any mother vessel is coming, they are coming to the hub ports, main ports like Singapore, like Portland, Colombo. These are the bigger ports where these vessels can be easily accommodated. And again, to India, it will come by the daughter vessels, feeder vessels, small size vessels, because of our port inefficiencies, infrastructure, likely Chinmay said, that is the lack of infrastructure in India. Mother vessel cannot get accommodated in Indian context, Indian port, because the draft level is very less. Suppose we are getting some vessels of cargo from coal from Australia, and it is a Panamax vessel. There are many sizes of vessels, Panamax, Supramax, Handymax, and a Cape size vessel. Cape size vessel is a bigger size of vessels carrying capacity more than 2.5 lakh tons cargo. They can at one time then can come. There is only 2 ports in India. That is, one is Mundra port, another is in Odisha developed port. Again by Adani only. That is called Dhamra port. By these 2 ports, only Cape size vessels can come, because the draft level is 18.5 meters. Otherwise, what is happening? If people must have gone to Visakhapatnam port, where we are getting every day 2 vessels. That is a very beautiful port made by God only. There is no chedkhani in that port. That is purely natural port. That is, if any port visit is required, I will recommend it to visit Visakhapatnam, Vizag port. Earlier Voltaire, now its name is Visakhapatnam. That is a 2 types. Both sides are hill, mountains covered by the port area. Tunnels are there. At any point of time, you can get 30 vessels you can see in the port. Because why? What is happening? If any, I will give a small example. What is happening? Why the transaction cost is higher in Indian context, and why you are incurring higher logistic cost also? That we have to understand. Whenever any Panamax, Supramax vessel is coming to Visakhapatnam port or Calcutta port is a river port. No vessel carrier is coming nowadays to Calcutta port. Infrastructure wise, whenever any vessel is coming to Visakhapatnam port, what is happening? If the vessel is carrying 60,000 tons, for example, 75,000 tons cargo in one vessel, and that vessel, that is one is called outer harbor and one is called internal harbor. If the vessel is coming 60,000 tons cargo, and that is also draft level, everywhere the draft is important to allow the vessel into the harbor for berthing. So what is happening? If there is a leak in the particular day, if my vessel is arriving, for example, day after tomorrow, And for that day, if the vessel draft is not equable to allow the vessel for berthing, then my vessel will keep on waiting. But whenever any vessel is coming to Indian, it's a very technical language to understand. Whenever any vessel is coming to Indian territory, before 12 nautical miles, 1 nautical mile is equal to 1.875 kilometers. So you can multiply 12 nautical miles. Whenever any vessel coming to Indian territory, before 12 nautical miles, the carrier, the captain of the vessel has to declare the IGM, NOR, notice of readiness, NOR. I am ready to discharge the cargo. Now it is the authority of Indian Port Authority to call the vessels for berthing. Understood? So at particular day, because every day at 11 o'clock, there is a chairman's meeting. So we people have to go to chairman office, request them, my cargo is very important, my plant is getting shut down because unavailability of material. So what is happening? Because port inefficiency, chairman cannot do anything. You must have studied in the 4th or 5th standard classes, geography mein padha hoga, because in our time we have studied, there is a high tide and a low tide also. That is, if it is a full moon night, if you have studied also, that is, the water level also goes up. So in Vizag, in Calcutta, in Paradip also, in some of the vessels, we are going for light race. What is a light race? That whenever any vessel is coming to the port, if that water level is not equipped to allow the vessels for berthing, then we are taking a smaller vessel into the larger vessel and offloading the few cargo to the smaller vessel, so that the larger vessel becomes lighter. You understand? Technically lighter. Thoda halka ho jayega. Then that easily can come to the port for berthing. So that becomes the additional logistic cost, transaction cost, offloading, unloading from larger vessel to smaller vessel, getting the vessel to the harbor for loading. So in the Indian context, there are many issues, many parameters leading the logistic cost higher. If you see this time also, Honorable Prime Minister has been very optimistic, so that by 2025, we have to get our logistic cost down and we have to meet the requirements of 87 to 80%, what is in other developed countries. So in Indian context, yes, please carry on. So as I said, there are other vibrant projects that is like the PM Gati Shakti Master National Plan, and also Sagarmala projects are coming in. So many projects are coming, like we discussed in the digitization and everything. You have seen, although our country is developing countries in Corona time, because of our online digitization, everything, we got a tremendous success. If you have seen during Corona time, whenever whole world was completely closed down, locked down, in our case, in the Indian context, no plant, no steel plant, particularly I am telling about Jindal, Tata Steel plant, Bhushan Steel plant, SR Steel plant, no plant was closed. Because we started, everybody took a very proactive initiative for digitization. Even though we have not visited to shipping companies, we have not visited to port offices, not custom offices, everybody tried to help us in terms of online payments, online issue of delivery orders, online issue of the custom clearances, everything started doing online. Our plant was not closed for a single day. From manual, if I understand clearly, I can deliver these few tips for you. During this lockdown, from manual mode, manual transaction, we started for digitization. And from digitization, what I understand from Mr. Chinmay, that we are transferring to the automation mode. Why I was comparing for China, you try to understand. China is producing for knowledge 49.75% of world steel. China itself is producing 49.75% of world steel. And we in India, we are producing 3%. Despite that, we are struggling day, night, everybody. If you ask your subordinates, I'm busy for that thing. I am visiting to those areas because a lack of port connectivity, rail connectivity to port area, multimodal logistics, so many things. But hopefully, by these so many projects coming in by the good initiative of our Prime Minister, like the Sagarmala projects connected to the hinterlands, Because any super ODC project cargo is coming to India, we are facing a lot of obstacles. Moving the cargo from the destination to the Indian port, again moving the cargoes by road and rail to the multimodal logistic modes, the cost is too huge. So if the Sagarmala projects get success, because this is so many issues, like other digitization platform has come that day, we have seen in the Vigyan Bhavan, with so many service providers have visited. Uh, what I'm saying, because infrastructure is the key issue for everything. As China is, if you see in the world context also, because during our period, we are listing that number one seaport like Hamburg port, Rotterdam port, Antwerp port. Now you see all 9 ports, you list down, all are from China. Now you list down, you can see Google also, you can go through, browse, all 9 ports are from China. China is detecting the shipping and the logistic and the supply chain, everything. If China is closed for one day, the entire logistics is collapsed. Because everything we are importing, all steel, all major industries, all import machineries, all everything, all 90% material imported from China. We see whatever the materials we are imported earlier from Germany, France, Italy, all European countries, they have started moving their plants to China only. Because whatever the materials you get from other countries, Europe countries, USA countries, for example, at $235,000, the same material, same quality parameter, and you will now get the material of 1/3 price. That is from China. So in case of shipping also, that is, as I said, strategic buying. China has taken over all the materials. Although they have good deposits, they use the materials by importing from India, sustainable purpose. They producing the material on interruption and they supply the globals. And now what we are happening? We don't have any coal in India. That is, jitna bhi coal mines you see, all are in Goa, in Chhattisgarh. This is low caloric value. We are not using those coals now. What we are doing now? We have started importing coals. And China is having the coals from up to 2080. They started because that is a very, very tactical and strategical. You understand? Now what happened? During COVID, what China did? China started keeping all the inventories in their country. 5 lakhs containers China kept without using those containers. But we are struggling day and night. The price what we are paying to Europe, the price what we are paying to USA for $700, we started paying $17,000. During last year, you people are from international business, you must have seen those data. We started paying $17,000 per container from India to Europe and India to USA. Because China kept those containers without touching to anybody. So what they did, once China started producing the material, they started using those containers. Recently, we got a news day before yesterday only. Then again, COVID started in Tianjin city. I think the city is closed for another 10 or 15 days. Now our business is collapsed because the dependency on China products and from China is now substantial. Without China, we cannot survive. So mainly I'm saying, because of these new projects, because we are attending so many projects with the Government of India, Ministry of Steel, and this Prime Minister Gati Shakti, Sagarmala projects, various seminars, conferences we are attending, and we are hoping for the better tomorrow. As Prime Minister is very optimistic by 2030, not only the logistic costs, infrastructure-wise, like the connectivity of the national highways of Bharatmala and other projects will get success. We hope we should we want to see the India is as a very developed country in order to not only for sustainable purpose, for getting the logistic costs and other costs at a very minimal and at optimum level. That is from my side. Thanks a lot.
Can you just give me my mobile? Okay, thanks a lot, Mr. Dina. Now, I think we can move on to the panel discussion. I think we are well within the time which was set by Yatharth. Okay, so yeah. But maybe Mr. Anil, you would like to open the discussion. Okay, start.
Anything specific? I mean, should we have a Q&A or you
Yeah,
guys-
maybe we can take one question at the start and then we can also throw questions.
Okay, so I think all of you heard 4 diverse areas, right? From what Mr. Jenner spoke, what Sir spoke, and so I think love to have your questions and then we'll try to answer them. And do address who you want to ask this question. So it will be easier.
Yeah, so this question is specifically to Mr. Chinmoy and Mr. Natarajan, because they touched upon this point during their speech. I work as a general manager in an IT company. I'm from the executive batch 21-24. And we are doing a B2B SaaS product. And 70% of our revenue comes from international business. The problem that we have seen is that since we are an India-based company and an India-based startup, we have seen that named enterprises or large enterprises have some trust issues on our data security. When we ask them that we are hosting their data in India, so they either ask us to host it on their private cloud or maybe to their country. What steps can we take as a nation or maybe through the government that we can create a trust within those mega enterprises so they can choose us as well, like they choose global companies across the world?
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a very valid point you brought up because I work for my company, 100% of the revenues come from the US. There's actually a running joke among the ITS industry that I'm sure it's there in PCS as well, that if you want to make money in revenues, you have to go abroad. Because within India, it's impossible to make revenue. Because you go to any bank, they want it for free. If you go to any institution, they say, it's a race to the bottom. Who's the cheapest? It's a problem in India. It's unfortunate that it is, and that problem is not going to go away anywhere. So your point that what's the safety and security of the data? I think the answer lies in the cloud. All my data, all the solutions are in the cloud. You can keep it in the private cloud in the US. You can keep it in AWS. Keep it in Amazon cloud or Google cloud now. So I think that's the answer. In terms of, I think the first thing is that do not keep the data in India. That's the first thing. I mean, that's a simple answer. Keep it in the cloud. It's in the cloud can be anywhere. You can access it anywhere. That's the answer because India, we just almost had a data privacy bill that came about. It's withdrawn. I don't know when it will ever come back again. So there is a fundamental issue. A lot of the things, data has become weaponized now. With India saying that everybody has to keep the data of Indian customers within India in servers. You would have seen that last 2 years ago, MasterCard and American Express were banned from issuing new cards. To me, that was absolutely ridiculous. What message are we giving to the outside world? If tomorrow the US starts saying, "Hey, I'm not going to send anything to India. I don't want any coding to happen out of India. I don't want you to see data of American customers here." So there's always, the problem when you go into digital, there are no geographical boundaries. That's the beauty of digital. And that's where we have to come up with specific answers. So to your question, I would say answer lies in the cloud probably.
Yeah, sure. So I think your question was really direct. Okay, you are asking that, okay, what we can do. Okay, so first of all, definitely data privacy bill is the number one thing which not just the government, I mean from the protectionism point of view or making India secure point of view, the government is looking forward to that, but all the organizations and especially in the B2B space, everyone is looking forward to that. I would just like to take example sort of from our my space, okay, from where our projects are there, and there is a lot of data literacy which has happened within the organizations also. Okay, so earlier, even when let's say there is project A, B, and C, and the data would free flow from A to B to B to C, and it's a whole circle. So a lot of data literacy has happened within organizations, and that's why this worry or this point has come up now. Okay, so that is first thing. So a lot of data literacy also has to happen along with the data privacy bill. Okay. Second, with the data literacy, the understanding of who the data subject is, where the data is stored, where the data is processed, where the data is supposed to end or destroy itself, or when it's supposed to destroy. So all these aspects are there in the whole data life cycle, as to say. Okay. So this is the, I would say, the basis of what our actions should be directed towards. Okay. So data privacy management itself, in itself, is an area now, and that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we can, yeah.
Good morning, sir. My question is to the whole panel. Like, we've all spoken about data privacy a lot. So what is the industry's viewpoint on using NFTs as an option for data privacy? Because currently in India, the literacy about NFTs is not much at all. And those who know about it think of it as only digital art. So can it be a potential option to be explored from a privacy standpoint?
I didn't quite understand the question, sorry. You're saying how do we use NFTs for privacy, or are you concerned about privacy when people are using NFTs?
In general, like can we leverage the potential of NFTs as a possible way for confidentiality and privacy of data? Because NFTs is not fungible, so it gives you an identity.
I understand. See, there are various tools for data privacy. Now, NFT is one of the, should I say, glamorous elements of what technology has come about. NFT is like the metaverse now, and it's almost become a scam now, with people buying millions of dollars of NFTs. The question is, when it comes to data privacy, things like encryption are probably more important. NFT itself is subject to certain security, concerns. While it's a lark, while it's something that people treat it as some kind of a fad, it's okay. But if you want to treat it, if you want to use it for something serious, then the NFT technology itself has its elements of concern. So maybe what we can look at is encrypted QR codes, or all kinds of, there are other algorithm technology that we use. But NFT by itself, not a lot of confidence anywhere in the world. I mean, NFT is more as a joke so far.
I just want to add one point. See, NFT is becoming more of a scam, or look like that. However, NFT is essentially based on blockchain, right? And blockchain by design has elements of data anonymity, right? Privatization, public-private, and all those angles can come in. Okay? So when used correctly, blockchain and NFT use cases can enhance data privacy, but a lot of understanding needs to be developed before we do it. Yeah. Yes, please. Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Nikita from batch of 24. So my question is to the whole panel. So my question is regarding the theme, bridging divide, digital divide. So I think that there are stages, like first stage of internet penetration that was already done. I think that internet is now reached to the villages also. Second stage is digital literacy, like Google and other big players are working on that. They are teaching people what they can use using internet. So what are the next stages India should do now for reducing digital divide, and what are the changes we want to see in 24/7?
Okay, maybe I'll try to answer a part of your thing. I personally feel that still there's a lot of digital literacy that has to still go on. Right? We have still not covered everything. So in my business, for example, where providing credit is so essential, and this credit does not happen in traditional way. There is an app, right? The borrower has to fill up the details. The borrower has to understand why he or she is taking this loan. What are the consent that the borrower has to give. right? What are the, let's say, the financial charges that are being levied in terms of interest rates? So we still face a lot of challenge when it comes to these tier 2 or tier 3 kind of borrowers, right? They do have a mobile phones, they do have internet, they do understand what are these small loans, as an example. But many times, for us to make them literate enough to understand what terms and conditions that they are agreeing to, is still, we see that as a huge gap, not only with us, but generally in the industry, we see that, yes, you want to take the loan, I accept terms and conditions, yes, I give my consent, yes, and that's it. 99% of these set of profile of borrowers, or let's say profile, are still not so fully aware of what are they actually signing on to it. And if you go maybe about a month back, Reserve Bank of India has come out with a very strict guidelines for all these financial and digital lending, where they're saying that essentially you must ensure as a lender that the borrower, for example, has to be financially literate enough to know what has been offered to them. Right? So I think we are taking a lot of steps saying that we are just not lending something to you, but we want to make you more literate and to understand these parameters. So before, in the user journey itself, we try to educate them more and more in terms of what is this credit, what we should do for savings, small things that we go through. So it's quite a mix because we don't address borrowers who are financially so literate. These are the new to credit. वो नए हैं, मोबाइल फोन में सब कुछ देख रहे हैं, but still they're far off from that literacy level. So I think for us it's still going to take some more time, but maybe others can have their viewpoint.
Sure. Yeah, I think digital literacy or digital adoption is a journey. And it's not just India. If you ask around the world, the level of digital literacy coupled with financial literacy is quite poor in most countries. I mean, you'll be surprised. The data often surprises you. So it's an ongoing journey. It's not something that you can solve in a year. It has to be continuously reformed as technology changes, as newer products come in, as newer services come in, things keep changing. So I think it is something that has to be parallel. For probably a couple of elements. One, having strong laws, digital laws, like the privacy bill and protection, consumer protection. How many of you know that the RBI came out with a circular in 2018, which puts the consumer loss, cardholder loss at 0 for fraud? How many of you actually know that? Do you know that? Has your bank told you that your liability is 0? No, the bank will never tell you. Because if you lose money, the bank will say, hey, it's your fault. The thing is that we have laws. India is very good in passing laws. But making people understand that is the biggest problem. So we don't know. There are a lot of digital rights that we have as a consumer, which we don't even know. Forget about there's a myth that the rural people are unaware. I would say they are very well aware. Because every day for them is a struggle to protect their rights. It's us, in the urban areas who are actually, less knowledgeable about our laws than they are supposed to be. So it's something ongoing. It is not. It's not going to be. It has to be enabled by strong regulations, implementation, and ongoing education.
Okay, I think we can probably take up a couple of questions between ourselves as well. We'll come back to the students.
You haven't asked anybody from the middle rows.
Yeah, sure, please.
I had questions related to ONDC, and it has two aspects. So first one is with ONDC coming up as a great competitor to e-commerce giants like Amazon and Flipkart, who are burning cash, order to provide discounts to the consumers. So will it be feasible for ONDC to go bang on with them and with the extra cost which they have? And another aspect is the logistic part of it. So will they be able to cope up with the quick retail and the logistics, the supply chain basically of Amazon and Flipkart with the ONDC? How would they compare?
I'll take that. How many of you know what is ONDC? Okay. What does ONDC stand for? Anybody? Okay, great. So ONDC was just launched last week in Bangalore. It went live. It has the potential of being a real game changer for India. I personally believe it's a fantastic thing that we have done. Worldwide, people hate Amazon. People hate Walmart, which is Flipkart in India. People hate it. And if you go and ask somebody, there have been communities and counties in the US who did not allow Amazon to open warehouses in their economy, in their counties, because they hate it so much. Because they're seen as predatory companies. And Amazon has not allowed their employees to form unions for the last 20 years. So today, if you try forming a union in Amazon, they will simply kick you out. So even the US Senate has not been able to get Amazon employees to form unions. So your point is very valid. The other thing is that Amazon and Flipkart have invested billions of dollars. They've been burning cash. Amazon at a global level made money about 4 years ago. And guess what? It's an interesting fact. Probably some of you may know about it. Amazon doesn't make money from their e-commerce. They make money from AWS. If you look at their balance sheet or annual report or Form 10, you'll see it's AWS which makes all the cash. The e-commerce business doesn't make any money. It's never made any money. So the e-commerce is a very high cost business. So ONDC to be being a late bloomer is probably good for us because we've got Amazon and Flipkart who have got India into used to e-commerce. Thanks to the COVID as well. If you look at the Paytm example, how was Paytm? Paytm was funded by Alipay and SoftBank and all that. They're giving cash back. People started using digital payments because they're getting cash backs. And what has happened now? We have got into a habit. Now UPI doesn't give you any cash backs. Even Paytm doesn't give you any cash backs anymore. But we all use UPI because we were used to it. Likewise, I think Amazon and Flipkart have got us used to e-commerce. Yes, they give discounts. Yes, they give all that. But the fact is that, hey, surprise, surprise, even if you go on ONDC, maybe the seller can give you those discounts themselves. Amazon and Flipkart, why do sellers hate them so much? Because they literally squeeze them. Their margins are like 40%, 60% on some of the products. And SMEs can't afford it. And Nestle can negotiate terms with them. And if you see some of the brands like Apple, they don't allow their products to be sold on Amazon globally. They allow older products, but they want you to go to the iStore. So ONDC, if it grows and we manage it right, is a great initiative. And hey, it's open competition. And that's the way the world works. And we have seen in China, for example, we've seen WeChat or Tencent, they provide you a level of customer interaction which even Amazon doesn't provide. So we have this golden opportunity now with ONDC to not only for the sellers, like any small seller in India, anywhere, say from a rural area or whatever, it doesn't matter, can sell his or her products and goods anywhere in the country. And you don't have to deal with a predatory institution like Amazon. Yes, potential is there, but it all depends on how we go about it. And it's up to us consumers as well.
Universal basic income has been a hot topic for debate, but has not been able to be implemented because of the fear of leakages from the system. So, do you think the blockchain technology could pose an alternative to this and could provide a solution for direct cash transfer, especially the
Could you just repeat your first line? I just missed out.
Sir, I was talking about universal basic income
Okay.
and how it has the information regarding the same has been the leakages in the system because of the different stakeholders. So, could blockchain technology provide the solution to this?
You want to speak to this question? Because I think maybe
I want to ask a counter question. Tell me about any country in the world which has implemented UPI. Name any country.
So that's what, like, there has been a lot of hesitation regarding.
Yeah. If you can name any country in the world that has implemented UPI. Any?
South Korea has had a pilot program for
Mhm.
that is specifically two specific methods. That is not that they work in payment cards that can be used with specific methods, it's not a credit card that you can use anyway. So it's
No, you are talking about universal basic income.
Yes, sir. So after the pandemic, in order to create a stimulus, they ensured that it would be only at specific outlets to create stimulus in the local economy inside.
Yeah, okay. I'll slightly differ with that. Sorry, was that something? No.
Good afternoon, sir. Lakshay Kandar from the Management Group. So India recently did UPI after the pandemic. But it was not exactly UPI as it was they did direct cash transfers to a large section of the population, who mostly the poor people. They gave 2,000 rupees. That
Yes.
was the income.
Yes. See, there's a difference between UPI and giving subsidies or short-term assistance, like the US did PPP. The PPP loans. Even my company got it. Even companies like Amazon got it. It was like a short-term credit. To tide over the pandemic, to make sure that you're paying salaries to your company. Likewise, universal basic income is a very controversial subject. There are countries in Europe which are absolutely against it. They have the money, but they don't want to do it because they think that population is getting lazy. So I think UPI is a fundamentally, the issue is not about the technology. India can implement it tomorrow with our Jam, Trinity, Aadhaar. We have been doing that. We've been doing cash transfers. So it's not ability. I don't think it's the technology which is stopping UPI. It is more the fundamental concept of, do you want to make your population lazy by providing them with fixed income? That's what has happened in the US now. Since they've been giving out unemployment allowances, you can't find a worker in the US. So yes, the blockchain, you can do UPI even without blockchain. We don't need blockchain. Blockchain is a solution looking for a problem.
Just adding on to that point, probably not UPI, but schemes like MC Narega, where like you provide employment and then do the cash transfer. In that context, this would be a viable solution.
Yeah, see, everything is viable. Okay. The thing is, underlying points, this is the data. Okay. Blockchain relies a lot on digital native ecosystem, so as to say, and if blockchain has to do anything, which is basically a piece of code is doing anything, there has to be a lot of data which is verified. First, before going anywhere, okay, be it UPI or Narega, okay, doing cash transfers, the whole ecosystem has to be in the place first of all. Okay, so I think before going there, like what blockchain can do, first we have to see what can happen within the Web 2.0 ecosystem itself. So I think probably we can have a discussion amongst ourselves as well. And I would like to start with a point actually. Just last week, I was at this India Mobile Congress where the big 5G launch happened. Right, it was right there in Delhi. And among all the use cases which were displayed there with the 5G, healthcare, education, etc., I think one of the great examples and a lot of talk which happened there was on the logistics and ports smart ports, everything. Okay? So I would like to understand from you that with the coming of these new generation technologies, how do you see, and especially the theme being India 100, that how do you see the ports becoming smarter, becoming digital, and bridging the digital divide which we have in terms of logistics and ports?
Yeah, it is a very important and pertinent nowadays because, as I said, the government of India, during this announcement of new logistic policy, they have developed many platforms, digital platforms like the Unified Logistic Interface platform, where all of 16 ministries' data can be integrated into one portal. Because what is happening in the industry perspectives, you see, we are going for not digitization, more than enhancing digitization to automation mode also. Because what is happening in the private to private pulling the data is easier. Because in our SAP system, we have added one is TMS model, transport management system, which added to our SAP. So what is happening, just I briefly about this total entire supply chain activities, how it is taking place in the industry perspective. So what is happening whenever any, for example, any consignment is coming, that is coming to the port, port data is not integrated with our portal. Again, it is going to the customs for custom clearances. That is driven by IC Gate. That is the nodal agency. IC Gate is a portal of our customs. That is the IC data. And once that is custom cleared, again it is going to the rail, Ministry of Rail, whether this is going to the movement of the cargo by rail or road or multimodal. So unless until all these platforms, all these portals integrated with the common platform, then pulling out the data is very difficult. So for that, in the new logistic policy, if you have seen, government has taken so many initiatives, very vibrant projects actually. India is one of the vibrant projects where the 16 ministry data can be integrated under one common platform. So once it is done, I think they have given a timeline in March 2023. And I hope it will be a very lucrative and attractive project for everybody, for the industries, for the common stakeholders to make fructify their dreams and data, and they can share and they can give a better output for others also. And at a very optimal cost levels and in a very real-time data which somebody can use for tracking, for tracing of their content on a real-time basis. That will be really useful. It is my personal opinion.
Okay, thanks a lot. One question which I have for you, Mr. Anil, is you spoke a lot on the financial literacy aspect, right? How does financial inclusion when India is at 100 look like?
Okay, so let me try to answer this. So I think, while I was, talking about this whole financial inclusion, the most important word at that time was financial. What is financially excluded? Right? So that was the big thing, and that is how the word financial inclusion actually came into it. Let's try to include those set of people who are financially excluded, from the whole ecosystem itself. I think the last 10, 15 years took, basically, if you wrap it up, wherever you see, what we saw was almost a decade in terms of ideation, running with the stakeholders, regulators, banks, thought leaders to make them understand, why this is required. One of the big challenges was, of course, that while every intent was there among all the stakeholders, what kind of a technology shape is it going to take? It started with the so-called smart card-based, system. But then the problem was when you want to deploy payment systems, small loans, small transactions, the only point of sale infrastructure that was available was these big credit card terminals. It didn't make any sense. We cannot deploy millions and millions of that. I think, and then the change came. A big disruption happened with the QR code coming in and the UPI coming in. It did solve one of the big issues, especially in the lending business, was while institutions were able to lend to these borrowers, how do I get the money back? Lending is not about disbursements or just giving money back. It's all about how you can collect the money back. The raw material itself is capital. So the entire QR code, UPI started solving this problem, this leg of the problem, that at least the money is now able to come back. So people who are there at the, let's say, the bottom of the pyramid or these set of society of people, the India stack has now been able to solve this problem. I can give you one example, especially when it comes to the set of borrowers. We have moved almost 91, 92% of these borrowers are now able to pay digitally back to us. Yeah, that is something which is very, very important. Now, this was not just done overnight. There have been a lot of financial literacy campaigns, educating them to make them understand that, bhai, agar aap paise wapas nahi karoge, it is going to hit your credit score. And tomorrow, because it's a long journey for you, in terms of when you need financial assistance, repayment is very, very important. So this entire inclusion word, recovery, collections, repayment became very, very important. And I think a lot of users are now able to understand. The other big challenge that we saw, and which is even today, especially in these new to credit, borrowers, now they're getting aware to understand in terms of this credit score, कि मेरा भी CIBIL score बनना है, right? So a lot of people still don't understand, and they're talking about ground reality, right? While we may say that everybody now knows about CIBIL score or CRIF score or Equifax score, so we have to educate them while we give assistance. We have to do a lot of training and campaigns and workshops. We call this sabhas to make them understand that we are slowly building you in your value chain of credit underwriting, so that tomorrow, when you want a bigger loan, a bigger financial assistance, you should qualify into that regime. So अभी भी वो that reaction comes, अच्छा ये क्या होता है? CIBIL score क्या होता है? हमें नहीं चाहिए. But then what happens is there's a lot of social pressure that also comes to them. It is important for you to learn all these things. So I think we have almost touched in the inclusion space these things, and now these set of borrowers are also looking at us for other financial products, like a small micro insurance. So they're getting a little more aware of these things. So as we said earlier also, this is not going to happen that in 6 months the whole financial inclusion is covered, because again, new babies are born, the whole society keeps on moving in. Our job is to basically move them from a complete new to credit into a chain where they are now, perhaps, the banks are able to help them. Again, the next part comes in. So financial inclusion will always be there. There will be excluded folks which will be there, but it's going to take time. It's a huge population. It's a very huge market to cover. I mean, just to give you an example, even in the micro MSME segment, the counted ones that we look at is about 75 to 80 billion. Just multiply that into number of households, family members for one MSME, for example, and the population that is addressable for this financial inclusion. So we need a lot of folks to come in to get them included into this. Thanks.
A lot of people needed in the value chain. Right? I think we can go back to the students. Yeah. Yes, please. Okay, we'll move on. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. So I had a question for Anil, sir. So when we talk about lending to the most underserved areas, one of the problems that I see is the increasing bad debts. So what are some of the risk mitigation strategies or control measures that firms have? So if I talk about a firm like Mahindra Finance, they basically can afford a physical presence out there, but digital firms basically cannot do that. So as to enforce that payment mechanism. So what are some of the risk mitigation strategies or control measures digital banks can have so as to reduce this problem of bad debts that may arise if we are serving such underserved rural areas?
So I think very important question. This is what we do day and night to understand how can we reduce bad debts or NPAs or so-called delinquency levels, gross NPA, net NPA, etc. The foremost important thing that comes to us as a lender or anybody who gets into maybe digital lending area is to ascertain the ability and the intent of that particular borrower to repay back whatever he has taken. Right? Now, for example, if I was to underwrite you, probably I can take a bank statement, create what is called as a FOIR. FOIR is a term used in lending. It's called fixed obligation to income ratio. Like if you're earning, let's say, 1 lakh a month, what is your fixed obligation? Car loan, home loan, whatever, सब कुछ निकाल करके, you say 30,000, 40,000 rupees. So basically, then I do my calculation and say, I think you are good to get a 1 lakh rupees loan because it looks that you can pay a 5,000 rupees EMI on a monthly basis. Now, when you try to underwrite someone who is new to credit, these formulas don't work actually. They may have a Jan Dhan Yojana or a bank account, but if you look into the bank account, there may be some 100 rupees, 50 rupees, कुछ रहता नहीं है. वो deposit होता है, नरेगा में भी ऐसे ही होता है. Money comes in and then withdraw and then they spend. That's it. So then what becomes is alternate data. What else can I look at to undermine or let's say underwrite this particular borrower? So apart from the demographics, right, the usual KYC now just to check the validation, yes, this person is genuine. It is important for us to also still dip into the credit bureau just to check whether the person is there or not. As a defaulter, has he or she taken any previous loans? Yes or not? The rest of the information that we try to generate is in Earth basically. So we use a physical models. Right? We have our what we call as our Earth business centers, which is managed by 1 or 2 persons. They actually go and meet, the shopkeeper. They understand. So we built in apart from the usual credit underwriting models, we had built in what we call as observation-based analysis and a bunch of psychometric analysis, which basically tries to answer the questions of ability and intent. And on the financial side, we try to ascertain, as I was saying, what are the allied incomes, what is the, if she's running a small grocery store. So we get to know what is the inventory, what all she's selling every day. So it is more on what she says to us. And usually they are very, very honest doing that part itself. Now, basis that, we try to understand in terms of how big is the family member. Married, not married. If married, how many kids? If 2 kids, then are there any financial implications? As I said, are they going to school? Are they paying fees? Yes or no? So when we build the entire algorithm, the underwriting, the risk engine over there, we account for all a bunch of those 140, 50 parameters, and we score each one of them. Now, this once we have, we create what we call as a credit score. For this is nothing to do with civil. This is our own credit score. On this, we then layer various socioeconomic, data that we have. We try to understand how has this region performed in terms of NPA. We go down to as small as a ward level. Right? Maybe you understand wards, right? They're like the smallest unit of a geographical. So we get this data from the bureaus, for example, to understand how is Gurgaon, let's say sector 39, 40, 41 performing in terms of, there's a term called either you pay your loan on time or there is what is it's pay past due, 10 दिन के बाद वाला, 20 दिन के बाद वाला. So they fall into certain buckets. So based on the lending that you've done in the last 4 or 5 years to more than this 500,000, the credit engine itself has kind of matured enough to understand, who to give and who not to give. But we do have a human intervention also. We don't rely. I've been on both the sides of this business. I've been on the other side where it was only flush, apps, use digital marketing and keep lending to millions of people and see what happens. And I know what is the backside of the story also. How those numbers go in double digits. So it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
So metaverse is quite a buzz these times, and recently even the Rate 90 has got a piece of virtual estate, and such services have been started even by JPMC Bank. Now, how do you see the Indian banks warming up to this metaverse technology, considering all the rules and regulations are in place by RBI regarding cryptocurrency and NFTs?
So cross domain question.
I think the Indian banks are more worried about NPS than metaverse. Any bank should be. Well, metaverse, again, every year, some kind of a hype factor comes in. And it was blockchain, it was NFTs, now it comes with metaverse. And, how many of you know the metaverse is nothing new? There used to be a site called Second Life. I don't know if you've seen that. Do check it, it's still there, secondlife.com. It started somewhere in 2006. So it offered an alternate digital reality, where you could live an alternate avatar, so to say, in the digital world. It was online. It was not like the metaverse. It was not as interactive. You have to log in and create your digital identity. And ABNR, in fact, opened a branch in secondlife.com. It's still there. But at that time, Second Life was touted as the next big thing in digital. Nobody even remembers what Second Life is. But the metaverse as a concept, maybe yes. I don't think, every year some kind of a hype factor comes in. And the technology industry loves hype. You just love hype. Anything that comes in, AI, behavioral tools, technology, biometrics, name it and you all can catch on to it. That's where the technology industry is. Banks are the most rational people on earth because they're dealing with your money, they're dealing with our money. We kept our money with the banks for a reason because we trust them with it. They're not a technology company who can, whose stock market, whose stock value oscillates between $5 to $500 every couple of days. So expecting banks to jump onto the hype is a little bit far-fetched. Yes, some people may just, it's more of a marketing gimmick to attract to a certain level of people. And some banks have done that. Like you said, JPMC has opened something, Metaverse, Barclays has opened something. There are so many banks. But to expect banks in India to do something serious on Metaverse is, everything takes time. Everything takes, you have to invest money in technology. JP Morgan Chase has a $5 billion budget for technology. That's more than the GDP of any country. So how much of the five billion goes into metaverse? Well, they can throw in 100 million or a couple of 100 million. No big deal for them, as always. But it's really not, the hypes will come and go. It doesn't mean that banks at least will not jump on this.
What I just would like to add is, I think before coming here, we were talking about the Gartner hype cycle, right? You aware about the Gartner hype cycle? Okay, so that whenever anything comes, there's a hype, then there is a drop of disillusionment, and then there is a productive use. So right now, metaverse is there, okay, right on the top. Okay. So the layer mandi or expert person doing anything, that's good. That's good marketing. Okay, maybe he will get 5 concerts or from. Yeah. So there is no good intrinsic value which is being identified by the use cases which are in the market right now. That is what I would say in a summary, at least as of now. Okay, and I'm saying slightly from B2B and slightly from B2C. I would not say that there is absolutely nothing at all. But when I bring, so going a bit technical, when I bring something from physical to a virtual world or a mixed reality world, it has to complement what already exists. Okay? So just doing it virtually for the sake of it, it will not last long. That's all. Okay, I think we have just 3-4 more minutes, so we can take 1 or 2 more questions. Last question. Okay, yeah, the last question probably. Yes. Someone, yeah, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my question is for everyone. So RBI recently has announced that it will be launching e-rupee in select few cities. So I wanted to understand from the panel, what will be the long-term impact of it, and will it be able to contribute economy and be a currency that is for everyone?
Yeah, I think CBDC or central bank digital currencies is a hot topic for the last 3 years or so. Particularly for countries like Zimbabwe and Venezuela, whose currencies are worthless. They're thinking of first they thought of Bitcoin, and countries like Bolivia actually made Bitcoin as legal tender. But a lot of these countries are looking at CBDCs. Today, if you know, there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. There's Doggy coin, there's Jojo coin, there's so many coins. These are all privately, issued out of and traded. So the problem with cryptocurrencies is two aspects. The way RBI looks at it, cryptocurrencies are a medium of exchange. They're a currency. It's like transferring money, dollars to each other. The second thing, unfortunately, which has become is cryptocurrencies have become a tradable asset, which is a bigger problem for central banks. Because if you know that I read somewhere, Indians have invested some 25,000 crores on Bitcoin. India is the largest, cryptocurrency asset trader on a per capita basis. No other country has so much of assets in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. That presents a fundamental risk to economies. It poses a risk to the currency. It poses a risk to your entire banking institution. So, which is why the central banks have come out with digital currencies. Central bank issued digital currencies. So when you started with Bitcoin, then came stable coins. Read about stable coins. Why stable coins? Because Bitcoin keeps oscillating. All cryptocurrencies keep oscillating. Value today is not the value tomorrow. It can go either way, depending on your luck. That's how people make money out of it. But the fact is that central banks are uncomfortable with such kind of currencies. Even business trade, the real world is uncomfortable with currencies whose value keeps changing every day. So that's why the central banks have come up with CBDCs. The CBDCs have two aspects, like I said. One is at a global trade level, for example. How do you trade? We're talking about online and digital trade. CBDCs will be a tremendous factor in sorting out imbalance in trade. Today, the biggest risk in trade is currency risk. The rupee going south, and rupee is at the lowest level today. But when you compare it with other currencies, like Japanese yen or even the British pound, India hasn't done so badly. But India keeps getting the bad press because India is lowest. Everybody loves crashing India. But the fact is, when you compare it with other currencies that euro has depreciated far more than the rupee in the last 1 year. The problem is that these kind of fluctuations in currencies is very bad for international trade. Like he talked about, why is China controlling everything? China has been manipulating the currency value for the last 40 years. Even today, a dollar fetches almost 6 yuan. It should be the other way around, actually. If the yuan it goes as a free float, probably it will be the most valuable currency in the world because China is sitting on what 2.5 trillion of foreign exchange reserves. But China manipulates its currency, which is what central banks love to do. Central banks want to control their currency. So which is why the digital dollar will be the last thing to come because the US dollar will otherwise will lose its value. That's the biggest fear of the Federal Reserve. So in India has a different problem. One, the RBI has a choice. They don't want Indians to go berserk on the trading in cryptocurrencies and losing a lot of money. So when you lose money, it's real money. It's not cryptocurrency. You lose money, real money. You actually lose your income, your wealth. So that's a fundamental problem that RBI is trying to solve. The other thing is as a medium of exchange, e-rupee, which is being launched, is being seen as a medium of exchange. It seeks to replace those dirty currency notes that are floating around. So the objective here is to serve as a medium of exchange in which people have trust and whose value doesn't keep fluctuating every day. 1 rupee will stay as 1 rupee, whether today or tomorrow. So when you see a currency note, what do you see that? It says the Reserve Bank governor signs on it and says, I guarantee that this will have value. Likewise, the digital rupee is guaranteed by the RBI or the government of India to say, hey, this is a stable currency you go ahead and use it as a medium of exchange. And that India's experiment is going to be very interesting because we're looking at even offline transactions as well.
Yeah, so I think we'd like to close now. Okay, thanks a lot, and thanks a lot to everyone who asked questions. Okay, I think it was very interesting and a lot of insightful replies.
Also, if you have any further questions, do feel free to email them. I think our organizers have our emails. So do feel free to email us any questions, any further points you have. I think feel free to do that. We'll be happy to answer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our club Systemics had recently organized an article writing competition for which we received an overwhelming responses of articles, and we have assembled the best of these and distilled them into our annual magazine, Tectonics. We would request our panelists to join us in launching of our magazine for this year.
I hope there's a digital edition of this. Circle the digital edition. So you're talking digital.
Lastly, please accept our sincere appreciation for the time and effort all of you took to share your thoughts and experiences. We were grateful to have insights from such diverse backgrounds. Please accept a small token of appreciation from us.
A big thank you to all of you. I think you've been all patiently listening to us. So thank you once again for having us. And hopefully we should have more forums and probably more interaction. And as Srinath said, feel free to write to us. We're all like to do LinkedIn. You can get connected on LinkedIn. All the best.
I would like to request you guys to please proceed for refreshments.